So we're all a little bit toxic, right? Just a little bit. All of us have characteristics that we still carry from wherever place that we pick them up. That's not exactly healthy. They tend to be a bit uncomfortable. They tend to be icky. They're toxic. And that's normal because we aren't perfect. We're humans. We're not going to get it right every time. But sometimes we can let those characteristics run amok. They can make things very uncomfortable. They can make things really unhealthy. It can make our relationships unhealthy. All of our relationships unhealthy. So today, we are going to talk about toxicity. What does it mean to be toxic in romantic relationships? How does it show up in our romantic relationships? And how does it spill over into the rest of our lives? Because it does. It really, really does. I'm your host, Love Goddess. So let's define what it means to be toxic. Okay, so toxic, which I'm pretty sure I put right there, and we'll be going while I talk. Toxic really just means being harmful, being unhealthy, behaviors that are harmful and unhealthy to other people that we're connected to. Or, the definition that I put right here. And again, we all have the ability to exhibit toxic behaviors. But some of us are a little bit better at it than others. Okay? Some of us lean into our toxicity just a little bit too much, or a lot bit too much. There's too much toxic sauce on your chip. There's too much dip on the chip. Okay? Toxicity and being toxic is usually not loud or in your face. It's quiet. It's under the surface. Sometimes it's bubbling under the surface and you can feel it come up. And the reason why it's so quiet and under the surface is because it doesn't want to be seen. It doesn't want to be found out. It's like a bad sneaky link. Because apparently that's what we saying instead of hookups. It's like a bad sneaky link. You don't want to tell nobody that didn't go well. You went over there, or they came over here, and it was supposed to go well, and they were supposed to go on their merry way, or you, and it just didn't pan out that way. Do you really want to tell people that didn't work out? No, you're going to keep that to yourself. You're going to hold that in. And probably just tell some friends. That's what it's like when toxicity comes up, when toxic behaviors come up. It's that sneaky link that you don't want to talk about, but it happened. So let's talk about some toxic characteristics. Now, you may be in a toxic relationship, partnership, have a toxic connection with someone, and you may not have all these characteristics, but here are a few that can come up. So the first one is manipulation, being manipulative. Now, manipulation, to make it easier and save time on this video, we're going to say that it is harmful social influence. Okay? Harmful social influence. You are influencing someone to do something that they may not want to do, and it is probably harmful to them. Okay? Now, manipulation can look like being passive aggressive. It can look like withholding information. It can look like isolation. It can look like dishonesty. And it can look like everyone's favorite current psych term, gaslighting. All of those things can be in manipulation. All of those things can be used against you in a romantic partnership. And it's really difficult to spot it, which is where your friends and your family come into play. If you are open with them about your relationship, you can talk to them about it, and they might be able to pick out behaviors that you might have overlooked, or you might be enabling. But that's where isolation comes in. The manipulator does not want to be seen. They don't want to be called out. It's that sneaky link, remember? So they will try to isolate you. They will try to make sure that you have no one but them. So suddenly you are hearing from your partners, if you have multiple toxic partners at the time, well, you don't need to talk to them. You could just talk to me about it. You don't need to hang out with them because I haven't seen you in so long, even though you spent like the last 3 days on their couch. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because to them, outside forces are trying to take you away from them. They don't like that, so they're going to keep you close. And that can feel really good. It can make you feel valued, but it can also be harmful. Some other toxic characteristics can be being judgmental, being controlling, being unsupportive. Now let's break down those three. Being judgmental. Have you noticed that sometimes when you're speaking with some people, they might very quickly pass judgment on someone else? And in the beginning of a relationship, you might not pay attention to that because it might have been a really quick comment that they threw out there and it's fine. It's not fine. That's a red flag. Don't ignore judgmental people, because as soon as you're with them, they're going to turn that judgmental side on you because you're right there. You're looking right at them. You spend all this time with them. They're going to judge you. Red flag. Being controlling. That goes back into manipulation. Usually you can see controlling people or controlling behaviors through isolation. That's a way to control you. By withholding information, that's a way to control you. Lying, just flat out lying, is a way to control you because it controls what you know. It controls what you believe to be true. That's not good. And being unsupportive really comes up in toxic relationships, especially within toxic non-monogamous relationships. It's very difficult and can be heartbreaking when you have partners who in the beginning say that they'll be supportive of you, of your decisions, of your friends, of your lifestyle. And as you go about your life while dating this person, they start to tell you that they don't want to be around. They don't want to do these things. They don't want to meet your friends. They don't understand why you're doing some of your creative endeavors or switching jobs. They just always have something negative to say about something that you're trying to accomplish, someone that you're trying to see. It's just always something. That nagging feeling of,
well, I don't know if I can really tell them this because they probably aren't going to be on my side.
That's toxic. Another toxic characteristic is refusing to take responsibility. This means your partner has a really hard time admitting when they did something wrong. Refusing to take responsibility can look like not apologizing, giving a half apology. Example of a half apology is, I'm sorry that you felt that way. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm sorry that action happened. Not that I did this. I apologize for making you feel this way. Not half apologies. All of those are half apologies. Sorry guys, I'm really passionate about apologies. Refusing to accept responsibility can also look like blaming you when they did something wrong. That's toxic. Telling you that you were the reason why they did that thing to hurt you. Not okay. Not cool. Super toxic, super unhealthy. Red flag. Lacking stability is a toxic characteristic. Now, this may not affect you in the beginning of your relationship, but it will come up. This can look like not being able to hold down a job, not being able to pay your bills, having difficulties with custody or credit or courts, anything that requires you to be responsible, like keeping your car up, making sure you get to work on time, making sure that your house is clean, just things that we as a society deem as stable, like providing stability. They don't have that. They have none of it. And that's a problem, because if they're not stable within themselves, they're not going to be stable with you. And if you're non-monogamous, they're not going to be stable with all of their partners. All of them. All of you. Just making that clear. And the last toxic characteristic that we're going to talk about today is being abusive. Now, that can mean being physically abusive, so striking, slapping someone in the face, pushing, anything that is physical, choking, things of that nature. There's emotional abuse, so belittling you, talking down to you, making you feel bad about yourself. Emotional abuse. Verbal abuse, talking down to you, calling you out of your name, calling you by a name that you don't like, calling you by your dead name for our trans people. That's abusive. That's verbal abuse. Toxic. Bad. Spiritual abuse is a thing. Spiritual abuse, from my understanding, can look like denying the deities you believe in, the spirituality that you have, talking down on your spirituality, making sure that you can't make it to service. If you go to service on Sundays or Saturdays, whatever you believe in, talking about how your particular religion is stupid, or that they just don't understand it and they don't try to understand it. Spiritual abuse. Bad. Toxic. Red flag. And the last form of abuse that at least I'm going to touch on is financial abuse. Growing up, I didn't see a lot of people talking about it, especially people of my particular skin tone.
Know what I'm saying?
Financial abuse can look like providing you the opportunity to not work, so you get to stay home, but now you have limitations on things that you can do because you don't have a source of income. So you may not be able to go out as often with your friends without your partner because you don't have the funds to cover it. You might not be able to buy the things or decorate things in your home the way you want to because you don't have the funds to pay for it. You might not get a say in vacations because you don't have the funds to pay for said vacation. You may not be able to provide a experience for your children because you can't pay for the expense. So they're limiting your livelihood by money, which is abusive. Red flag, toxic, bad. So those are a few of the toxic characteristics within our relationships that either we or our partners can exhibit. Now, how does it spill into the rest of your life? Well, when you're around a toxic person for a really long time, your behavior starts to change. You may start to enable that person to continue to abuse you, to continue to be shitty toward you. And you may not even realize. You might not understand that you're enabling a person. You are allowing a person to continue to harm you because it doesn't feel that way. Or you might be enabling a person to just make the fighting stop. Because when you're with a toxic person, you're fighting a lot more than you anticipated. It may not be every day, it may not be every week, but the fights tend to be consistent. And the fights may be escalating over time, which can turn into different forms of abuse. That's not to say that that's your fault, but it's just how you learned how to survive in that relationship. And that's a lot to handle, which is where your friends and your family members can come in. They can support you while you're with a toxic person. Problem is that toxic person probably has isolated you from your friends and family. So you don't go out anymore. You don't see them anymore. You don't call them anymore. You don't text them anymore. You don't FaceTime, video message. There's no Snapchats, if anyone. You're not sending them cute TikToks and YouTube videos and anything on social media. You're not going out to coffee. You're not socializing as much because you may be isolated by this toxic partner that you have. You might start to feel tired and negative about everything. You might start to feel like nothing good will ever come to you, or like you don't deserve good things. That's hard to get out of. I'm speaking from personal experience. It's hard to get out of the mindset of,
well, I just can't. Well, I don't want to leave because there's no one better than this person.
there is somebody better. If someone's making you feel bad about yourself every day, about your friends, about your decisions, if they're gaslighting you, if they're engaging in some of these toxic behaviors, it really takes a toll on how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about the world. We can go from being optimistic to pessimistic because of our partners. We can go from being extroverted to introverted because of these toxic partners. We can go from being loud and boisterous to being meek and quiet because of these partners. And suddenly, you wake up one day and you look yourself in the mirror and you have no idea who you're looking at. That's because you've been around a toxic, manipulative, unhealthy person for so long. And sometimes it's hard to let go. It's hard to let go of this person because you love them, because you've spent so much time with them, because you might have planned a life with them. You might have had children with them. You might be living with them. And that's heartbreaking. And it takes a long time to get away from this person. And some of us don't make it out. Some of us just never come back. But you don't have to be that way. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to live the rest of your life with this person. You can go. You can find joy somewhere else. You can find joy with your other partners. If you're non-monogamous and you're with a toxic partner, but not all of your partners are toxic, try to spend more time with the less toxic partners and see how you feel. If you can. And if you can't, start making plans to leave. However that looks. However you need. I'm not going to give you tips on that because I am not well versed in that. There are plenty of resources that I'm going to link in the description for the people who need help on getting out of these type of relationships. I'm just saying, watch out for toxicity. Watch out for the people who feel good in the beginning, but over time just aren't. And that has been Toxicity for today, guys. That has been the explanation of some of the characteristics of being toxic. And I threw in some non-monogamy because we're a non-monogamous channel here. In the comment section below, tell me what are some toxic characteristics that you've seen or you've heard about that I didn't list here. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation about how we can stop this. How we can stop this within non-monogamous communities, because I don't think that we talk about that enough. I love you guys. I will see you next week for a wellness chat and for another educational relation, love, non-monogamous video. Bye.